Take off your shades, it helps see through the smoke. Cause the wicked hide behind the cloak. And if you stay in the mist, you gon' be soaked. So listen up, cause this hair of the dog. What's real, what ain't? Is this the fog or smog? Cause there's a difference when you breathe it in. So don't let the corporate media take you for a spin. This that morning show, they put you in the know. So I hope that you ready, cause all we do is go, go, go. Yeah, come get your info, you gon' be like, whoa. Hair of the dog, we bout that, ayy. We in the zone, we out here, yeah. Speeding the facts.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hair of the Dog. It's Andy Kennedy here with you this fine Wednesday morning where it's snowing like a bastard, which is normal for Canada. Don't be alarmed. This morning, we are going to have a conversation about politics. I know, it's not our usual thing, but I think it's pretty important because there's been a few things that have happened in the last couple of days that really need our attention. That, of course, we all know that mainstream media isn't going to touch with a 10-foot pole. So that's our job as independent media to reach out and try to figure out what's happening and try to keep you informed on everything that we need to talk about. So before we get started, I would like to introduce my lovely and talented co-host, Miss Kerri Barber, on location. Good morning, Kerri.
Yeah, good morning. So what you see behind me is the Petroglyph National Park. It's a very interesting park, hiking trails, and just below that is Albuquerque, the city of Albuquerque, overshadowed by the Sandia Mountains. Beautiful, beautiful area. So yeah, this is a really good backdrop for yeah, I checked out yesterday. It's very rare because I know that I am kind of the rock for a lot of people and pull people up in my personal life and whatnot. Yesterday was one of those days where all reality all at once kind of hit, and I had to check out completely because it was just when you hold out hope that people are going to do right and they don't, yet again, it's just at a certain point you're broke. You're just completely broken, and that's where I was yesterday. So today I have a little more resolve, but I want to talk about things that I personally need to let go of so that we can move forward with solutions that help people. So that's where I'm at. Woot! Yeah, I was. Monday was a fun show with Alan Howell. That was fun. Today we really need to have a real conversation. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we are live. And Andy's right. What we try to do here is we're nonpartisan, right? So progressives come from the entire political spectrum because we believe in policy. We don't have an ideology over a person policy, and we're in it together. That's kind of where I'm at. So if you're tuning in for the first time today, we're live. If you type a comment in Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, even on Twitch, we will that comment, and we want to hear what you have to say because it does me no good to just sit here and preach at you because others do that. That's not what we're about. We're about having a larger conversation and, grassroots focus. So please feel free to weigh in. We will check the comments and, bring you into that conversation. So, woot.
So you've quit the cheerleading squad, have you?
Not necessarily cheerleading squad, right? So I'm well known for where there's corruption, illegal activity. It's just, I had hope. And here's where my hope was founded. And I thought on solid ground. When you have the reality of a global pandemic, and as part of my job is to sift through what's real and what isn't. And I can see, and we talked about it on Monday, the way that other nations similar to the United States handled this pandemic. In Australia, how they did it. And Alan kept saying it's too late, it's too late, it's too late on Monday. And I kept thinking, but it's not too late. It's never too late, because I kind of operate under the assumption that if you get up and there's still breath, there's always hope. Okay, so I see a very narrow path forward, very narrow path forward. And for me, after yesterday, it no longer involves the idea that an elected official, particularly at a national level, is part of that plan, ever. And I'm looking more towards neighbors, right? Circling the wagons. And let me just explain what happened yesterday. So,
Yes,
there were
please do. I would like to hear the story that has knocked you down so many pegs today. Come on, let's hear it.
Okay, so it was a combination of things, right? So I was invited to our good friend Dr. Dillon, who will be on next week to talk about the COVID vaccine and all of our concerns. He was participating in a panel discussion for employees of Mars Candy Company. So these are the for some reason we've designated them essential workers, but these are the folks who are in the warehouse in one of the largest inland ports in the entire country, in Chicago, south of Chicago, little town called Joliet. It's near Aurora. So these workers were hosting this plea on a Zoom call, and Dr. Dillon was there talking about the seriousness of COVID and how contracted and safety for frontline workers, in conjunction with the workers themselves, who are, you could just see it, they were desperate. They're desperate for safety. When they spoke out, some of them had been fired. They're saying that the safety protocols put in place are a joke, and they all know it. And these are honest, hardworking people, right? They all have families. And the one guy, I kind of make me chuckle, but he was like, look, you decided that I was a frontline worker and it was more important to have your Halloween candy there on time. Why can't I get basic protections? And, at first I chuckled and I'm like, oh God, he's right. He's right. That was where we put our priority, not necessarily we as individuals, but this is just one guy out of millions. My son, my husband, they've all been designated frontline workers. What appreciation do they get from anyone else? Are we giving them basic safety protocols even now? It's December. It's December, and we're still not doing what is required. We sent kids to school. Teachers are dying, and we're not getting it. So that is how I started my day, and was working with other journalists to kind of help them pick up the story and get the word out. And journalists, we can only do so much. We can bring the story to you. Something has to be done, right? So even the best independent journalists, we can tell the story, and we can hope that the words that we convey to you are enough for you to pick up the phone or do something. And I want to talk about what that something could be a little bit later. But so that's how I started my morning. And then I had some errands to run with my husband around Albuquerque, which is a wonderful city. People, even the batshit crazy MAGA people here are nice. So I really appreciate new adopted city.
It's just confusing to rabbits.
Yes, it is. It's a left turn. So driving home, I couldn't help but notice, we don't go out much because the city's under lockdown, but there were more tent cities, more people under overpasses, an entire city block full of people who were out there huddled together. So it's grown exponentially. Now it's gotten colder, And obviously this is my first time in Albuquerque in December. So in the back of my head, I was like, maybe this is normal. I'm like, wait, there's nothing normal about this. There's nothing. If this had been happening year after year after year, then shame on us. So one of the things that happened that I think this is where the light bulb went off. One of the local city officials, and I don't remember his name, my apologies, he had put in a proposal for there's an abandoned healthcare facility. It's a pretty large building. And rather than turn that over to private enterprise for redevelopment, his proposal was, let's make that an emergency shelter and rework it for homes to make it a housing complex. And I was like, yeah, that's it. That is the answer there. And I saw so many people supporting that, because how do you end homelessness? You give people homes, you give them shelter. How do you end hunger? You feed people. It's pretty simple. And what we need is, we have the will at the street level. I don't think that there are many people who, standing next to you, you say, hey, can we use this facility? Can we give this house to a family, to the single mom and her kids? Can we do that? There are a whole lot of people who would say, no, let's not do it. Let them eat cake. Except when it comes to a certain group of people that, for a long time, I've said that we need to stop treating them like rational people. We need to stop treating members of Congress as rational individuals. They are behaving like addicts. And just to step that back just a little bit, when you have a CEO who is not up to the task of the changing environment, the free market has changed, new competition has come up, new technology, and it becomes clear that they are not adept to handle it, that they are stuck in what's called brown shoe thinking. I always wear brown shoes. We've always wore brown shoes. This is why I wear brown shoes. So when they are stuck in that brown shoe thinking, it is time then for the board of directors to start looking for a new CEO who is more adept to handle the current challenges. And this is what I'm going with when it came to Pelosi and Schumer and McConnell. And that is a much friendlier, gentler way to look at where they are, right? They don't recognize the landscape. They've never obviously been through a pandemic. They don't understand what's going on the street level with regular folks, regular people who are working. And that was the assumption I made. After yesterday, with the experience that I had listening to these honest, hardworking folks at Mars, watching people huddle together under overpasses and on street corners, and then I saw the stimulus bill. There's really no stimulus in there for people. That's what broke me. Because what I had been holding on to, this good-natured thought about the people who are there to serve us at a national level, and I don't care what jersey they wear, blue, red, whatever, all of that was gone. Absolutely gone. And I am now left with the realization that these people are addicts. They are not misinformed. They know precisely what is going on. They know what we are going through as a nation. They do not care. Do not care. And if you want to argue that point with me, I'm more than happy to entertain it. But my first argument would be that they themselves showed you what they care about by what they fought over. Number one, they fought over a name of a monument and a name of a military base. That was more important. That was far more important than you or I. And they fought over protections for liability protections for corporations. So these are the same corporations that today can fire you if you get the COVID vaccine. They can also fire you if you don't get the COVID vaccine. They can fire you for asking for better personal protection equipment. They can fire you for asking for basic protections and hand wash, sanitizers, all of these things. They can fire you for all of that. But you, how dare you even consider opening up a class action lawsuit, joining with your fathers to unionize or file a lawsuit if you should die, get sick, or pass it on to a family member and they should die and get sick. Never mind the fact that the numbers that we're looking at, we look at total cases and death. We don't look at the financial impact to a working family for someone who has recovered. And then on top of that, we saw Giuliani go to the hospital in DC and get the level of treatment that you or I are not allowed to have. And he walked out of there 3 days later and he's okay. And he's not going to have to worry about the medical bills that you or I have. So all of these things combined, I would say that they have shown us, they keep showing us over and over who they are. And shout out to Warren Lynch. I love his enthusiasm. I love his positivity and his faith in our progressive leaders in Congress. They failed us. In my view, they failed us. That bill passed, and I didn't see them use the power and influence that they have. Like for example, here's what power looks like. I'm female. I learned a long, long time ago that has power. That has absolute power in some situations. So my son is Black, and when I would get called into school for some racist bullshit, and he was blamed for something, even though he was not physically in the space, and I walked into the room, I could see the teachers and the administrators who didn't know me. They were there preparing to tear down a Black parent and to possibly punish this Black child for something he didn't do, and they didn't care. But when I walked in the room as a white woman, literally you could see them all deflate. That is power. Today, when I'm chasing down a story, or I can't get somebody to return a phone call, or I get a call from another journalist, hey, this story has been killed. My editor won't let me do it. I know that if I pick up the phone and I am polite and nice, but I use my journalism credentials to explain the story I'm looking for, one of two things is going to happen. I'm immediately going to get a phone call back with an explanation, off the record most of the time, or that person or issue is suddenly going to lighting a fire under them. That's power. But it's still limited compared to what we as a united people have. And that is where I'm at today. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. But before we get there, Andy, the graphic from, we got to talk about this one, because this is what's coming up around us in the wake of this dire need, right? We are beyond desperate as a people. So this is a golden opportunity to misinform, misdirect, and push people into action that they don't necessarily want to take. So this is the Arizona Republicans. So there was, a big to-do about...
Hang on, Kerri. Did I give you the wrong one?
I can't see it.
Hang on 1 second. This is... Oh, all right. 1 second. I did.
The Arizona Republican Party with their tweets.
Yes. Here you go.
I can speak to it while you're working on it.
There you go.
So a couple... You good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Pardon technical difficulties. Okay, so what happened was some gentleman put out this statement, and I didn't catch his name. Oh, stop the steal. This is still about the elections, right? And just a point that escapes the MAGA folks. Giuliani is going around to all of these state legislatures, meeting with Republicans, refusing to testify under oath. He is not testifying under oath because he knows there are legal implications to lying. But he's going out there spreading this narrative about election fraud, whatever. So he's got people worked up about it. You know, they believe they're trying to save democracy, even though Giuliani himself, he's lying. He's absolutely lying. So here you have a gentleman who said he is ready to put his life on the line. He is ready to start a revolution. Let's call it what it is, a civil war for the lie that Giuliani has put out. And the Arizona Republican Party says are you? Basically questioning, where are you at? Which side are you on? What are you prepared to do? So it was interesting to me because I remembered the quotes by General Patton. And it was during a speech. It was not a well-publicized speech because it was just a speech to Allied forces in Northern Africa. And a lot of them were terrified. You know, a lot of them, he basically said to them, look, most of you will not die. Most of you won't. And in fact, the way that we win a war is we get the other guy to die for his beliefs and whatever else. And that was what they went forward. So the pushback on this gentleman and the Arizona Republican Party, who are you fighting? If you go into the streets right now, and I said this to Alan, it's always us. It is always us, our blood in the street, and me fighting my neighbor, and family fighting family. And it cannot be that way. It cannot be that way. Because I saw it yesterday on the street. That's what us fighting each other looks like. More homeless people, more desperate people, more people who are dying and don't need to be, because we are fighting each other. So to the Arizona Republican Party, who gains from this, right? And yeah, I don't remember, I've said it before, but I don't remember if it was from the Tudors or Game of Thrones, right? What does it matter to me if I am sick and I have medical bills and I am homeless? Which butt sits in the Oval Office? Does it matter? And that's where we're at. That's where we're at today. And if you don't believe me, go look at the stimulus bill. Because what I saw was my life is worth $600. $600. That is what they said to me. That is what they said about my kid. That is what they said husband, on all my family members and all my neighbors, and every one of those people sitting on the sidewalk homeless were worth $600. So to me, that is unconscionable. And I am done waiting for a hero. I am done waiting for progressives in Congress to stand up, to have a backbone. And even if you are standing by yourself and you are shouting, this is unacceptable, that would at least be something. We don't even have that. So I look at, I have a lot of friends around the world. And Andy, you and I had this conversation, and I hope that I'm not putting you on the spot, but they're watching what's happening to us. The light of the world. They're watching what's happening to us here. And they just can't believe it. It's I don't know. Andy, you want to weigh in?
Well, it's true, right? you look from where everyone sits, right? We just kind of stare into the abyss when we look at the United States and wonder why this continues, why the people of the United States are being treated so poorly, why it's as if their lives don't matter to their politicians, right? And the only conclusion you look at this is the problem is that the vast majority of Americans, or at least the people that prop up the politicians that are in power, they're either blind to it or they just don't care, right? Like that, it's unconscionable to me. And you have to remember, American people have to realize that every other country in the world is at least to some degree taking care of their people. This isn't a debate that happens. And this isn't just left-leaning governments everywhere else. These are conservative governments, right? And liberal governments. And, that all agree that we have to keep our people whole during this pandemic, right? Everywhere but the United States, right? That is scary as hell. We just, this morning, I saw a tweet that came from Joe Biden's office, right? It's obviously not Joe that's tweeting it, but it's one of his people. But it was his intention to defeat the coronavirus in the first 100 days of, and there were 3 points on that tweet. 1, everyone wear a mask. Number 2, get the vaccine. Number 3, all the kids go back to school. That's it.
How is that any different than Trump?
It's not. Well, the only difference is that Joe Biden just happens to be president when a vaccine comes out, right? Trump didn't have that luxury, that there was at least going to be something come out in a positive thing, in a positive way, that Joe Biden now gets the advantage of having during his administration. Say, look what we're doing. This is nothing. There was no mention of any stimulus, of any moratorium on payments of any kind. There is nothing, just those 3 points, right? America, you are being told that your government is not going to support you during this. We're just going to hope that everything is going to be taken care of by the vaccine. That's
exactly. And I know, Andy, this is a little uncomfortable for you, but can you put up the image of your own tweet? Because I want to talk about that, because I have an extensive background in health insurance, in HHS, in the administration of it, in ACA, and Medicare for All. So what is astonishing to me is part of the response from the rest of the world has been, not only are we going to help our people with their day-to-day needs, financial and otherwise, they have universal health care. So we as a people will not recover from this. This is a massive transfer of wealth from people who can least afford it up. And when we have a platform like for-profit insurance companies interjecting themselves into the process, you will have not just people at risk of evictions and foreclosures, but bankruptcy, absolute bankruptcy, because of what's going on, right? So when we have the solution out there, and they still won't even discuss it. They will not even discuss it. That to me is a further sign that the people who are serving in Congress right now, um, there's a serious issue. So if you ran to serve and wanted to serve in the House or Senate or whatever, I would think that in the back of your mind, I would hope that your goal was to do some good, not necessarily to make a career out of it. We know those people. But if not now, when? If you will not stand up now, when? If you will not find a backbone for the children that you represent in your own district, when will you do that? And that is the problem. This is the stimulus bill. And Andy's tweet here, I think, encapsulates it completely, because you mentioned it on Monday. The people who are not advocating, they're in the Joe Biden camp, but they're not advocating for Medicare for all because they themselves are comfortable. Today they have employer provided insurance that still puts them at risk of bankruptcy, but they don't realize it. Those people are okay with everyone on the streets because they themselves are not yet on the street. And that is the same mindset. That is us fighting each other. So when we laugh and point fingers and just shock and horror over the Arizona Republican Party inciting what looks like civil war, how is what you're doing when you're stopping Medicare for all and putting your neighbor at risk, telling them that they get to die first because you're comfortable? How is that any different? To me, it's not any different, because what we are seeing over and over again by policy, by rhetoric, all of the things that they are doing, it's just us. It's just us. So right now, I have to look to my neighbors. And the first questions I need to ask are, what do they need? What do I need? And how are we going to get through this together? And that is where we need to focus. And I think that what gives me hope is I still see people doing that. And, I brought up the example of in Illinois when we had back-to-back years of the flood of the century. Standing there in line, bagging sand and trying to protect homes of people we didn't know. The person standing next to me, I knew was a Tea Party person, couldn't stand them. You still hand the sandbag to them. And everybody works together to save the house of this person I don't even know. And that's what it comes down to. So the people in Congress just showed us what we mean to them. And I want to say this plainly, because I keep hearing this from people. I don't know who needs to hear this today, but the stock market is not the economy. You are not your job. There is no one on the planet who is more important than you are. You are no better and no less than the person next to you. You deserve a right to life. You deserve a right to speak up, and you deserve a right to be part of a community that supports you. And it begins with you. So if nothing else, when you see the stimulus bill and you see them over and over and over again telling you you don't matter, it is up to you to either accept it or not. And I am asking you not to accept it, because I need you. You need me, and we need to work together. So it's December in a capitalist economy. Here are the things that I think you should do. Most of you are already talking about it, so please weigh in with any other suggestions. Number one, if you are tempted to purchase from Amazon or Walmart, do not. Don't do it. If you can find a charity or a product made locally, that's where you put your money. Even if it's something simple like, I don't know, my favorite charity right now is Veterans Off Grid. So if you're on my gift list, what you're going to get is a certificate of a donation in your name. And I'm going to tell you all about this wonderful charity that you now are a part of. We used to do it before with a charity called Goats for the Old Goat, where we would buy part of a goat to give to a family in the Sudan. And everybody loved it because it was a return to what the holiday is supposed to mean. And it doesn't matter if you're Jewish, you're Christian, you celebrate Kwanzaa, Festivus, that is a gift with meaning. And if you can make a gift using materials that you have sourced locally, that's what you do. If you can bake something or make a meal, even if it's just this bullshit vegetable lasagna, whatever it is you want to do, that has meaning. But do not, if you cannot participate in an actual strike, a work stoppage, you can do this. And you can do it cheaply, economically, and that is the ripple effect that a worker strike is supposed to have. So when you see an event like the workers at Mars begging for PPE, share it, talk about it, find out who your local rep is, find out who the local mayor is of Joliet. It's pretty simple. Send them a message. That's something that you can do, and there's zero cost in it. And this is how we, little by little, start to reclaim our power, start to reclaim that sense of community. And we start to tell our elected officials that you don't matter. So, Andy, thoughts on that? What do you think? Am I off base? Is it
No.
wishy-washy?
No, it's I think that Americans are still in the camp that they're looking to their politicians to improve the quality of their lives. And I think that if America survives this winter, on the other side of this, when spring comes around, I'm hoping that more people are going to see the truth. Your politicians currently don't give a shit about you. They quite honestly don't. Your life is a number, right? They are only beholden to their donors and to staying elected. And the way that you do that in an unfettered capitalist system is by making money from rich people. That's all that really concerns them right now. Why has that not changed? Because the people haven't demanded that it change yet. There's not enough Americans that understand the reality of what's happening, or the people that do understand it don't have a voice. They don't have the ability to scream, "This is it, we're done, you're killing us," because they've been silenced, right? You can't look to your politicians for change. You get together, you organize, and you demand the change, and then the politicians change, right? The people that are looking to the quote unquote progressives in Congress or the Senate or wherever they might be are locked into working within the corrupt system that is the United States government. They don't have the same ability to elicit change as the people on the ground and the activists do. Right? You can scream from the rooftops as an activist and your groups to demand change. The minute that you become part of that corrupt system, you've basically lost the ability to do that, right? That's something that Americans need to get their heads around, right? I'll give you an example, and this is because of my experience as a Canadian in the country of Cuba. And first of all, I want Americans to understand that everything that you hear about Cuba from the United States is a fucking lie, okay? The reason Cuba is the way it is because of the United States, is because of the way that the United States has treated Cuba. The people of Cuba are absolutely wonderful people. They had to endure a country that basically just had tourism from everywhere but the United States to rely on to keep their economy afloat. And if you know anything about economics, you realize that that is very extractive, right? That it uses up a lot of resources and it makes your country become a net importer. It is very detrimental to your economy. And in around the years of about 2004 and 2005, a lot of my local friends in Cuba told me the story of how the communist government was basically collapsing and the people were abandoned and left to their own devices. So the Cuban people had to figure out a way to survive. And the way they did it is they relied on one another, right? They reached out to their own communities. They pooled what little resources they had and they survived. And Cuba now is better off than it was then. They're still not out of the woods because Cuba is still, treated kind of like Puerto Rico, obviously, by the big bad empire, which is the United States, regardless of that. But that's how they survived. And they keep their sunny disposition and they go on with their lives. This winter is going to be America's Cuba. You are going to have to figure out how to survive this without help from your government. They are going to put people in place that are deficit hawks, that are going to tell you that the country is broke. We don't have money. We can't give you anything. That is an outright lie. You have socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor and everybody else. Your government is not going to help you. You are going to have to band together as a people and figure out how to survive this. And hopefully we'll see you on the other side. But the faster that Americans wake up to that reality, the better off they're going to be. The rugged individualism that Americans have had to rely on and point to as what makes you uniquely American and why America is so great is the only thing you've got right now. That's not going to be enough for a lot of people. And that scares the shit out of me because of all my friends in the United States that I know, I can't help but think that there will be friends of mine that I won't ever get to talk to or see again. And I'm scared to death of that.
Yeah. And it, for those who are just tuning in, this all sounds like hyperbole. And I got to tell you, no. There, we saw last week the miles and miles of people lining up at food banks in Texas. Those food banks are now empty. People haven't gone away. And this is happening all over the country. So you remember when you were in elementary and junior high and you learned about the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl and all of the difference now is we have supply, we have material, we have food, we have resources. They're just not being made available to us because we are being shown over and over again. What was it on Fox News and the one politician? You should give your life for Walmart. Go to the store and risk your life for Walmart. Yeah, if you're a patriot, you're gonna happily die for commerce. That is insane. It is absolutely insane. And it didn't used to be this way. This is what happens when you don't people like the addicts they are. They are addicted to power and greed. And if you start to listen within that framework, anybody who's had a family member struggle with drugs or alcohol, or even go out to an Al-Anon page and read the signs and use that as a framework for what we're seeing with these politicians and these talking heads and the pundits. And I'm telling you, it's MSNBC and Fox and CNN, all of them. This is what they're doing over and over again with this propaganda narrative, trying to keep you as a cheerleader for what they're doing. And that is identical if you've ever had a family member who struggled with drugs and alcohol. It's the exact same thing. We got to stop it. We've got to stop with the fangirl thing over people on TV, the talking heads, because it doesn't help the situation. So I think the point of this entire thing is the hopey changey of the Obama era was a lie. The promise that Biden is not Trump, it's a lie. I still have hope. There are some people in his administration who are being forwarded that are really, really good. Shout out to District 1 congressional member here in New Mexico, Deb Haaland. I think she'd be fantastic. But Andy's right. When you cross the threshold from a rabble rouser, organizer, activist into elected office, you're basically handcuffed, right? You've got a Pelosi standing over you screaming and yelling that I'm going to take away any meaningful power that you may have. Any legislation you put forward will never see the light of day. And those people, it hasn't occurred to them to come back and tell us what's going on. We have to see leaked information. I can tell you without a doubt, if somebody like a Pelosi came to me as an elected congressperson and the first thing I'm doing is, y'all, look what just happened. Here's how it is. I'm here to serve you. And this woman from an entirely different state just told me that I can't. How do you feel about that? So, but we don't have people in Congress like that. We have people who are doing largely performative things because they know you have the power. They are politely asking you to get up and do something because they themselves cannot say, hey, we're at red alert status here. You need to do something. So while we're poking fun at the Arizona Republican Party, that's what they're doing in the wrong way. That's what they're doing. What are you willing to stand up for? What are you willing to die for? And we all went, how horrific is that? But instead, we have people dying right now. But that's okay. So I think Andy's 100% right. Today, look around you, whether you live in the suburbs, you live in the city, you live in a rural area. Today, maybe ask the question or just go and find where can you be of help? And if you need help, where can you get that help? And start to look locally, because this is what we have, just each other, our limited resources, our limited time, our limited ability. But all of that together can be enough. So let's start there. Make sure that we are okay, do the best we can, and then together, we really have to fix our government. It's just, there's no excuse for it. You cannot credibly, with a straight face, explain to me how this stimulus bill in any way, shape, or form applies to the situation at hand. There is no one who can do this. And so today, I've got to spend time watching talking heads who are paid millions of dollars justify this stimulus bill that came out and why you and I are worth $600. So yeah, that's all I got, Andy.
Well, aren't we just the happy-go-lucky pair today?
Yeah,
If you
yeah. That's,
if you needed cheering up, I hope you didn't come here.
well, I mean,
Uh,
I think the feedback that I get always offline, and y'all go ahead and put it in the comments, but always get it offline, is we love that you guys are this, right? So if I came out here and did, you know, the dancing song and blah blah blah, it's awesome. That's not going to be sincere. So I just want you to know where I'm at, and yeah, today is just like everybody else. I'm not happy with it. And when somebody like me, okay, so it takes a lot to piss me off, a lot. But once I get there, and I'm there. I am absolutely there. So this is me being calm, but seething pissed. You know, as a parent, how dare you? How dare you suggest that my child is worth $600 and as a frontline worker doesn't deserve any rights, doesn't deserve have a sustainable living wage, doesn't deserve access to healthcare, doesn't deserve a place to live that's affordable. And how dare you suggest that you do not work for him? That pisses me off. So yeah, I would be a liar if I came on here and went, yeah, everything's great. It's not. It's not. In no way, shape, or form are things okay. And we've got to do something about it. And that means letting go of this idea that the people in DC know better, that they are our betters, that we don't matter, that we are not good enough, that we don't actually hold more power. Let's be done with that. So,
well, I agree, but I think we need to end this show on a happy note.
okay, go for it.
All right. Okay. Hang on. I got a joke. Okay. Heard yesterday. All right. So this woman at home has a study, and in the study is a safe, and she and her husband are married for many, many, many years, and she always said to him, "I don't want you to look in that safe. You are forbidden to look in this safe." So one day the husband was home by himself, and he said, "Fuck it. I'm going into that study. I'm looking in the safe." And he looks in the safe. There's $40,000 in cash and 3 eggs. And so he confronts his wife, and she gets home and says, "I'm sorry, dear. A curiosity just killed me. I had to look, but you've got 40 grand and 3 eggs in your safe. What the hell does that mean?" He said, "Well, all right. I told you not to look, but I'm going to tell you. All right. We've been married a long time, right? I've tried to remain faithful, but every time I had sex with another man, I went out and I bought an egg." And he said, "Oh, well, there's only 3, so I guess that's not too bad." And he says, "Where does the 40 grand come from?" She said, "Well, every time I got a dozen, I went and sold them. And that's where the 40 grand comes from."
That's an enterprising spouse. You know what? You remind me of the segment from Darnell Williams that indicates that women are the devil. She's the devil. So, oh yeah, okay. Thank you, Andy. Lighter
You're
note
welcome.
to end the show, and we will be back on Friday. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna be on remote downtown talking to some of the people down there. Why are you here? What great mistake did you make? How did you earn this? Yeah, all of those sort of things. So I'll see if I can put that together. Possibly. I hate to mess with our tech already, but okay.
Oh, come on.
So
we're seasoned professionals now, right?
yes. Seasoned is right.
That's right.
Salty. We're
You got to remember halfway through cooking to flip over so you can season the other side too.
That's exactly right. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. And I see you out there. There were a lot of you watching this morning and you're lurking, but we sincerely appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, this entire conversation is for you. So feel free to weigh in, put some comments in, and we'll read them on air. And we definitely want to have that conversation. If you feel really strongly about some of the things that we say here, the stories that we cover, all of those sort of things, join us. Come be a guest on the show. That's kind of what we do. So yeah, let's have those conversations. But we'll be back here on Friday, and I will try to be in a better mood. Let's see how things
Well,
go.
it can't be any worse.
Yeah. The famous last words, Andy.
Yeah, that's true.
That.
I just cursed you, didn't I?
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. But all right, thank you everybody, and we'll see you back here Friday bright and early at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you.
And I hope today, Kerri, your day is much better. And let's just go with Friday. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about ponies and rainbows.
Excellent. We can do that.
That's right. So this is Hair of the Dog. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you on Friday.
Dog, we bout that, ayy. We in the zone, we out here, yeah. Spitting the facts, how it's supposed to be. Hair of the dog, we keeping it G. Whoa, oh, oh.